Hi all, it's Maria Clark at Sweet Willow Designs and welcome to my studio. Today's project is this really pretty mixed media piece with these peonies. Now, I'm not a gardener, so I hope they're peonies. If not, somebody let me know what they are really. Otherwise, I'm calling them peonies. So I hope you enjoyed this project. Let's get started. I received some of these brush pen markers, 48 set from Arteza. They were kind enough to send these to me to use in my projects and see what I thought of them, so we're going to use them. They come in this this handy case. There are three sort of layers to this, and there's a water brush. These are meant to blend and be water soluble. I'm just going to use them straight as they are, and they're really pretty colors. There's a variety of colors in these packets. There's a series of grays and browns. Greens, blues, pinks, purples, and some reds and yellows, some oranges as well. And you can see that there's a lot of choice here in terms of the colors. So we're going to use this in our mandala today. The other things that we're going to be using are these Sakura Microperm pens. These come in a set of 3. You can buy them individually as well. I got the 3-pack, and I'm going to be using the largest one. And I'm using these micropens because they are permanent and water soluble. So you want to be careful because the brush pens are water-based. So we don't want our ink to smear. So we want to be sure we have a good ink. And then I have this cardstock. I just have the stack that I got, and we'll be choosing a pale pink for the background. I'm going to be marking the center, so I'm just going to find the center. One little thing I want to just be sure everybody's aware of when you're using stencils, for example, the stencils that I sell in my shop are, you can get them in a 12-inch. You don't want to line it up to the paper. You actually want to find the center and line your stencil up to the center. There can be variances in the size of the canvas. There might be a slight variance in the cut on the stencil. So if you line it up to the center, I think you'll be well pleased. So I've got that lined up. I've got my grid on there. And now I am using my shapes set to draw out a mandala. And I'm just going to use a variety of shapes from the set. And you can see here, this is the smallest size. And I'll just go around the center and find a shape that's pleasing to me. And you can see that I don't have to use the full shape. I can just use part of it, whatever I need for the design that I'm building. And I'm just going to keep choosing a variety of shapes to get all the way out to the full design that I'm looking for. So I'm moving on to the second shape. And I'll just keep drawing those in. I'm not going to go through the entire design process because I think everyone's different and might want to do these a little bit differently, but this is what it looks like. So there's the shapes. You can see I just used a variety of them to draw out my design. It could have been anything, could have been any number of shapes, whatever I kind of was interested in at the time. And you can see as I moved out in the design, I used the larger ones, and there's one of those kind of lotus petal shapes. So I've got that all marked out, and then I went over it with, I marked it all in a pencil, and my lines on this are a little darker than you would want to do yours. Be sure you're using a light pencil and that you have a good art eraser. And then I used my microperm to just go over each of the outside edges, and when I needed to, because I do have some smaller shapes inside, I just hand drew following the curve of the initial shape, hand drew a little outline there so I'd have a little bit of an edge on each one of those stencils. And then you can see that I've got this all gridded out. There's my art eraser, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to erase all of my pencil marks because now I'm getting ready to start painting and also to start dotting. So I want to be sure I've got all those marks off, and I do. And now here's the sort of surprise for us because this is mixed media. So you all know that I love shopping at the Dollar Tree. At the Dollar Tree, they have these wall stencils, and you can find, you could find them anywhere. If you were at Michael's or Joann's or another big box craft store or online, you could find these kind of wall stencils or larger wall stickers or larger type stickers. Some of these would be really pretty in the center of a mandala. You can use bits and pieces. There's lots of pretty designs, and they come in lots of styles, like, you know, a watercolor style or illustration. Here's some butterflies. There were some letters. So when I see something at the Dollar Tree or wherever, I go ahead and pick it up if I think I can use it in my artwork. And here's the one that we're actually going to use. Now again, I think these are peonies, but again, somebody correct me if you're a gardener and you know that there's something different than that. But that's what they look like to me. So I'm going to open this up and just get ready to take a look at it. You would normally put this on your wall. I have several of these in my studio on the wall. They have, some of them are sayings and that type of thing, so I really enjoy using them. But I'm going to just choose some parts of this design that I like, and I'm going to use it in my artwork. I'm also going to be using some of this clear adhesive paper. Could be contact paper. This, I think, is some kind of book paper. I'm not even sure where I got it from. The thing you want to look for, you can't really see it there, but it's that it's repositionable because you don't want a permanent stick. We're going to use this kind of as a carrier. We would also use this as a mask if we had a design where we were going to be dotting over the design and then pulling it up. We could use it as a mask, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So the designs on this sheet are some of them are cut out all the way around because they're stickers, so they would peel up and you'd place them on your wall or wherever. I'm just going to cut some of them out. I'm going to remove some of the excess paper. And these are the three that I'm going to be wanting to use. So here's the second one, just getting that one out. And then I'm going to use this larger flower. And this one is partly a sticker. There's one edge that's cut, and then I'll have to cut the rest of it. You can see there a little bit of a sticker edge, and then I'll cut the rest of it out. So I'm just going to go ahead and get that out. I'll save all the rest of this because there's some pretty leaves, there's a bird, so I might want to use some parts of that again in another project. Now what I've got my three pieces out, and you'll notice on that large one, I did sort of fussy cut that. I cut real close to where the edge of the design was. I left a little bit in some places for some shadow, but otherwise I'm going to go ahead and cut all the way around that and make sure that I get all that excess. See all that? I'm going to cut all that excess off. So now I've got it, and now it's just a matter of sort of designing the layout for these. It's really fun to add a little bit of this kind of artwork, this mixed media style to your projects if you like that look. One thing that as we go along, you'll see that you could very easily leave this piece out. Once you drew out your mandala, you could dot it, you could paint it, you could do any number of things, you could doodle on it, and all of that would be really pretty. I just like the addition of these flowers. So now I'm going to start putting them together. I have some leftover sheets from another project. This is just the contact paper backing, and I saved some of these sheets so that if I need to use them in a project, I have them, because I don't want to stick the sticker down on something that I then have to peel off, and then the adhesive isn't so great. So now I'm just going to try to fiddle around with my layout until I get a layout that I like. So I'm just trying out some different ways, and I think I'm going to overlap them. They're going to overlap. So a couple of them are going to be in front or behind the others. So I'm going to peel back part of the sticker, and I'm going to overlap it over that top right flower. Just kind of checking my positioning there. I peeled back a little bit of the paper, and then I can just stick it down, and then I'll just fold that over until I'm ready to take it all off. Now this piece, the large center flower, I'm going to peel back a little bit of that backing paper as well, and then kind of stick that one down, kind of looking at how I want to do this. And once I get it in a position that I like, I'll just be able to get that peeled back a little bit and stuck down. So I'm sticking that down, and now what I'm going to do, there's a little bit of paper there because the other one behind it is a sticker, so there's some regular paper. I've got to be a little bit careful about how I peel that back. And then I'm going to set it down on my contact sheet, my saved piece, because it won't stick to that shiny side. Take the sticker backing off. And then because I got some of this stuck to regular paper, or at least the wall sticker paper, I'll just kind of get that off carefully. And there we go. And then I can place it on that contact paper. I'm not burnishing it heavily because it's not going to stick there permanently. And then I'm going to get a piece of that clear adhesive paper, cut out a sheet that's the right size, cut out a little more than you think you'll need. And this is where you can decide how you're going to use this piece that you're adding. This could have been a couple of paper flowers. It could have been a cutout from a greeting card. It could have been anything. You don't have to find these wall stickers. The only thing is, if it doesn't already have an adhesive back, you've got to glue that down with like a gel medium or something like that will help it stick to whatever the surface, the canvas or whatever. So I've gone ahead and I put my clear contact paper down, and I've cut off a bunch of the excess that I am not going to need. If I wanted to use this as a mask, I would have been more careful to cut right around the flower outline. But in this case, I'm going to just peel it up. This particular sticker paper has a little bit of a shiny coating on it, so I think the little teeny bit of paint that might go over, I can get up with a damp Q-tip. So now with this clear adhesive paper, you can see how easy it is to line it up where I want it. So I'm just going to put it down, get it generally burnished, not over much, but just enough so that I know it's not going to come up with the paper. And then I can start to peel that adhesive, and this is why you want the repositionable. And you want to be careful. See, I'm peeling it back pretty slowly because I don't want to take a chance on ripping my surface paper. And that came up really nicely, and it was easy to see where I was trying to position this. And that one thing, I don't know if I mentioned it, but that's why you want to draw your entire mandala out. If you're going to use an element, you're going to put an element over your mandala for the mixed media, you really want to have it drawn out, because otherwise you will you run the risk of not having your various rows line up. So now I'm going to just get these Arteza markers. These are the brush pen markers, and there's so many colors to choose from. I'm going to look at my artwork here and see what colors I want. You can see that I've got some nice mixes here. I'm going to start off with a kind of an orange, because in the center of these flowers there's a little bit of orange. So I'll just start with orange. You can see that little bit of orange there. And I'm going to move through this fairly quickly because it's a matter of using these markers to fill in wherever you want the color to be. These markers are really nice. They have an incredibly fine point on them, and that is really helpful because you can see my elements here are fairly small, so it helps get into the little crevices and points that I'm trying to fill in. And I'm filling in here with a yellow, and now I'm going to move to a green. There's quite a few choices on different colors in each of these color families. So I'm filling in with kind of a little bit of a bright green there, part of that next row. These are blendable markers, and you notice that when I open these, they have a water pen. So if you're using a mixed media base, a paper, or even on a canvas, like I'm using a cardstock here, so I can't really do it easily without risk of damaging the paper. But if I were using canvas or mixed media paper, I would be able to use that water brush to do even further blending and shading. Don't have that option with the cardstock. I put another sort of blue-green. Now I'm looking at the reds and oranges here. I'm going to use this kind of, it's a sort of burnt orange color. You can see how nicely that smooths on, and because of the tip, the way the tip is, it's really easy to kind of snug up to the lines that I've drawn. And if need be, let's say that for whatever reason I wanted to go back and make some of those lines darker, I could go back over those lines if I wanted to. I didn't find that was necessary with this particular project, so I didn't bother to do that. The other thing though, as you're going around the outline of the sticker that I put on, you do want to use the tip of that pen, the brush pen, to get up close to the sticker so you don't have a white edge or a background edge showing. And I'll just lay that color down. And you get a nice sort of painterly effect with these brush pens. Now I'm going to go over this color with a sort of another tone of yellow just to give it a little bit more orangey type look. And so you can see how easy it is to blend another color in if you wanted to and change the look and the tone of that color. And that's what it's looking like so far. Now I'm going to go over the tips of these petals, and I'm going to be using a couple of colors. I'll be using a couple colors of pink because I want to sort of blend these a little bit. So I'll use a darker pink towards the bottom and a lighter pink at the tip, and do a little bit of blending. And you just keep, following along with whatever pattern. The fun of having a nice variety of these brush pens is that you can choose whatever colors. You could use any, set of colors that you wanted to use in your particular mandala. And as I mentioned, let's say you don't want to use the mixed media element. You don't want to add the sticker or another sort of drawn element on it. You don't have to, and you'd end up with a really pretty piece. Now I'm moving into my next color. Each one of these pens, this is a purple, each one of these pens is numbered, so you could reference that as you were doing your own drawing. This is more of a process video, so I'm not going to go through every color that I used. I'm using, though, colors that are in that illustrated piece, the sticker piece. Now I'll go on the outside with sort of a fuchsia color. And I'm just choosing these as I go and adding this depth of color. I don't know if any of you do the adult coloring books. I don't tend to do those, but this was kind of like that sort of effect. It was really fun to be able to color. I really enjoyed that. Now for the next row, this is how it's shaping up, but for the next row, I think I'm going to leave that open. There's a little bit of an edge to each one of these petals, so I'm going to color that edge in with a bit of a bright orange, but I'm going to leave this center of the petal open, and that'll show off my dotting just a little bit. So I'm just going over that with the orange, getting that filled in. See how easy it is with the tip on these to get into the fine lines that I've created. We just keep going around. I want to thank Arteza for sending these to me. I really enjoyed working with them. I have another project coming up in another week that will use another product from Arteza that I think you'll enjoy. Now I'm going into my next row, and I'm using another kind of a yellow. It's almost like a yellow ochre. I'm going to just get that one laid down. Now I'm going to be using a turquoise, a bright blue, for that ring right above the ochre. And now purple, a bluish, more blue purple. I'm going to go on the outer edge of this petal with another blue, and this is deeper. I would still call this in the turquoise or teal family, but it's a little bit deeper. Very pretty. Now I'm going to add, I decided as I was looking at this that last bigger petal there on the outside edge needed a little something in the middle, so I'm using my microperm pen and my stencil, and I'm just going ahead and drawing around it. Now I didn't do that initially because I was worried that the ink of the pen wouldn't dry fast enough, and as I moved it, it would smear. But when I was doing it on this outside edge, that didn't happen. So this pen dries really quickly. So if you wanted to try, just instead of doing a pencil and then tracing over it, if you wanted to use the stencil, it looks to me like you could. I would practice a little bit just to make sure that you think that's going to work well before I try, maybe ruined a piece of paper or canvas or whatever. And now I'm just adding some additional design elements to that outside large petal. And I'm just doodling here. And just adding some lines for a little bit of additional interest. I'll do that all the way around. That'll allow me to add a little extra color and also some of the black line. For this last petal, I'm going to do a little swirl. This is just freehand, adding another little bit of interest. Okay, it's time to paint that outside edge. So I used another yellow in the center and then a bit of pink on that one outside right side piece there. Now I'm filling in with a little bit of a blue. I like the way the little hand-drawn element is working. Now I've gone with sort of a bit of an olive green here. It's a little light on the lighter shade of greens that are in the set. And I'm putting down an outside color. And now I'm going in with a blue-green and just sort of mixing those two colors together. And that's just to give me some additional shading and color. Now, as I was going through this, I thought that last blue that I put down was just a little too close to that turquoise. So I'm going over with a yellow to make it a little bit more of a brighter kind of blue-green and to differentiate it from the other color. And you can see how that's changing the color. So I'm just adding a layer over it to get even another color. I'm going on the outside edge with a darker blue on each one of those larger petals. And now I'm going in with a pink for these smaller petals, and I'll outline that. And that is how the piece looks so far. Get my pens out of the way, and that's how the piece is looking so far. I've left 2 sets of petals blank, and I'm going to start dotting. So I'm actually just choosing colors. Of course, I'm using the DecoArt Americana colors. I'm just choosing colors that either contrast or a little bit complementary to the underlay, the color that I laid on, to highlight it, or even in some instances to tone it down a little bit maybe, but to definitely add some texture and some interest. I'm going in and just adding dots using size a tool that works for me and works for the space that I have available. So I've laid down some yellow and some orange, and now I'm going over with some green on top of that blue to highlight it a little bit. And here you could do any kind of dotting that made you happy. Now in this sort of burnt orange, I'm going in with a yellow ochre And it's a very subtle shading now that I'm adding. Just going down the center of each one of these petals to give it a little bit of definition. Changing the size of the tool smaller as I go down. Use a little Q-tip, have a little damp Q-tip ready. I did take a little bit of paint off that sticker. You can see that I didn't end up getting a lot of paint on the sticker, so I didn't worry about it. But if I were painting over it directly and I was doing lots of rows of dots, then I would have cut out that contact paper, that clear paper, adhesive paper. I would have cut that out right up to the sticker and then removed it at the end and just pulled off all the paint with it. And that would have worked just fine. I decided that this particular row needed a little bit of something, so I'm going to make it look a little bit more leaf-like with some veining. Again, I'm just using that microperm pen right over the brush pen, and it worked beautifully. I'm just hand drawing lines in. I just thought it needed a little bit of something. You know, I was mentioning early on that you could just do this anyway. Let's say you didn't want to use the color. Maybe you just want to doodle in black and white on the pink, with black on that pink, pale pink background. I think that would have actually been really, really nice. So I may try something like that too, because I think the doodling and then adding even some dots would have been really nice. So now I'm going in with a lighter purple here and just adding some definition to that leaf look. And fill that in. And of course I'll do that all the way around on each one of those petals. Again, the color choices, you know, whatever colors you love and whatever contrasting colors you like, or colors that you think will enhance the look is really nice. Now I'm going over that fuchsia color with a lighter pink, just to bring that out a little bit. I change the size of my tools as I need to fit into those spaces I have, whatever spaces are left. And then just do that all the way around. Okay, this is what we have so far. Now, you'll notice that I went ahead and colored with a sort of a blue-gray those petals. I just thought that was a little bit too much blank space. I've already got the blank space there with these petals that you can see here, and I thought that was just too much blank space, so I went ahead and colored them in. And now I'm just filling in this particular petal shape, kind of a lotus petal shape. And this would be another option for you as you were designing your own piece, is that you maybe would like to leave the background paper showing through, as we're doing on this particular petal. You might like that look as well. That's traditionally how we do it. But I like the mixed media, so I really like adding lots of different kinds of elements and trying out new things. That's the thing. I'm hoping the likelihood of you finding exactly the stickers that I found, I don't know that they're particularly high. You know, stuff at the Dollar Tree turns over a lot. But I think the point is to inspire you to try some different things. Like I said, if you had a greeting card, this holiday season, when I was at, I think it was at like Tuesday morning, they had a bunch of paper plates. I bought some paper plates just for the designs that were on them, because I thought I could cut out some of those pieces and use them in a piece of artwork. Paper plates, greeting cards, stickers. The aisle at the sticker, aisle section of the scrapbooking section of your art store is perfect to find a lot of different types of things that you can use in your mandalas to give them a little bit of dimension, maybe a 3D look. or to add another kind of illustration. You can hand draw things and cut them out and put them on. Just endless varieties, depending on what you like to do and what, what kind of art you like to create. So I'm just continuing to use different colors to add the dotting elements. Now I'm showing you one section of the mandala, and I'm dotting that entire section, and then we will just repeat that, of course, all the way around. But I thought that was too, a little bit, maybe too much to just kind of watch that entire process. So I'm just adding colors that I think look good on the background color. And I'm reusing the colors, same colors throughout the entire piece to give it a sense of unity and a little harmony, a little bit of color harmony. Using some darker green that almost disappears a little bit, and sometimes that's okay. I'm just trying to highlight, or maybe I'm trying to change the tone, the color a little bit by adding something over it. And you can see that this will change the color a little bit. Now I am dotting that edge. I'm dotting each edge that has like the double line with a color that I think enhances. It's often very close to the color that's underneath it, so it won't pop off necessarily, but you could use a completely brighter, lighter, or darker color than what you put on underneath it, and that would be nice. I'm going for a kind of a subtle look here, so I'm using colors that are close to each other. And now we're going to dot this one with the little swirl element. Isn't that pretty with the with the microperm pen? I just think that looks really great on these background colors. Often the dotting is just following the line of the petal shape, and I think that looks really pretty. Now I'm dotting that edge with another pink, just layering right over the color that I put down with the pen. And now I've dotted one entire section. Oh, no, I've got some orange that I wanted to put over that one outlined double line. Okay, and that's all of the dotting that I'm going to do on this particular piece. I've set that aside to dry, and I'm going to come back and start doing my top dotting. Again, just like we do in most of our pieces, if we choose to top dot, we're looking for a smaller size tool and a paint color that either is contrasting or in some way giving us a depth of color by layering additional colors together. I was able to use a Q-tip, a lightly damp Q-tip, to get that paint that I didn't think I dotted that one very well, but because that paint is dry underneath it, it came up really nicely. And I'll just continue to add dots wherever I think they're needed or that I think they'll enhance the look. Changing out the size of tool for some of those really small dots that I've got in there. Going over the dots in that one spiky petal with some blue. Adding some green here. Lighter green on top of that darker green that we put down. Adding a darker turquoise here. I'm really loving the way this is turning out. I'm going to be trying some more like this because I think that one of the things I didn't want to do, and I kind of worried about it a little bit, is I had these pretty illustrations from the stickers, and I did think that with this much color and pattern, it might overwhelm the sticker. I think in the end it turned out well, but that's a consideration. You know, you don't want to take, you do have a focal point, and it's those flower stickers, so you want to look at how you're dotting or what kind of colors you're laying down so that you don't take away from the artwork that you've added on, the mixed media pieces that you've added. So I'm just continuing to dot. I've added a little bit of darker to the light purple in those leaf types. And I've completed my top dotting, and I originally was going to put an outside ring. This is my practice piece. You guys know that I practice, and so I like to try out different things. I was going to put this ring around the outside edge and just dot that, but when I was looking at this finished piece, I actually liked the negative space. I think it gave it a little bit more restful look. I'm a little torn still. What do you guys think? Would you have put the ring on the outside edge? I don't know. I went ahead and left it blank, because I thought that it gave the eye a little bit of rest with all of what was going on in the main design. So here's some close-ups on how this piece is turning out. I'm really pleased with the way it looks. I love these little petals, and I like the different colors and the way the dotting really enhances the undertone of the color. Really pretty. Now the last thing I'm going to do, this is a trick that any of you that are scrapbookers or do mixed media work, you know that a little bit of shading around the edge does kind of pop the piece from the background a little bit. So I'm looking for a gray. This is a lighter gray, and I'm going to use it to shade around the sticker, and hopefully it makes that sticker pop a little bit because it looks like it's a little bit 3D. And because these brush pens have a really nice fine point, we're going to be able to get in there really well. So just a little bit. I'm not doing much. Just kind of going around, adding a little bit of shading. And I do think, I hope you can see it, but as I look at it, I do actually think that it is kind of helping to give a little bit of definition and a little shade, a little border to this sticker that we've added here. So I like the look. I'm glad I went back and did the shading. But again, that's an optional as well. You don't have to do that. I just thought that it might help, and with my mixed media background, that's a trick that we use often. So I'm just shading it just lightly. Sometimes it's going off onto the background paper. That's perfectly fine. See, I went off the paper there to give it a little bit of shading, help it stand out from the background. So many possibilities to add additional elements to your mandala designs. And of course, they're pretty without it. I love that look too. And we're back at the start. I am going over the sticker a little bit. Some stickers, if they have a really heavy plastic coating, you might not be able to do this, but these have a little bit of a matte coating and a little bit of slight texture, so I'm able to highlight if I needed to. And so here's the finished piece. I did pop it in a nice frame. I love the way this turned out, you guys. I think it's just so pretty. Tell me what you think. I hope you enjoyed this project. And we'll experiment with adding some different elements to your mandala, or even just different shapes. I think it's makes them really beautiful, and I love to see everybody's artwork in the group. So I want to thank you all for joining me in my studio today. Take care.